What is the worst feature about every Call of Duty Zombies map? Well, let's discuss that in today's video. For Nacht and Toten, we have the slow zombie spawns. Honestly, it doesn't matter which version of Nacht you play, this issue persists throughout all of them, and it really drags down the map. Nacht is already a very basic, boring experience, and the last thing you want is for the zombies to take even longer to actually reach the map. For Verrucht, it's that there's no new wonder weapon. This may seem a bit unfair to say, considering Verrucht introduced a shit ton of staples to the zombies formula, such as perks, power, etc., right? But at the same time, a new wonder weapon would have been nice, even if it was something minor, or something that's not very good. For Shinonuma, we have the water. If you complain about the Origins mud, holy fuck, never play this map. It's very fitting, considering the map is in a swamp, I get that. But holy fuck, you move at such a snail's pace, and of course the zombies aren't phased by it, meaning that if you wade through the water and you've got a train of zombies after you, it's good night. For Der Riese, it's the glitches, specifically the Wonderwolf taking your jug glitch. Honestly, this is a really solid map, but it's ruined by this one aspect, as you can no longer use the most powerful weapon on the map, since it will take your jug, and Quick Revive didn't revive you in solo in World at War, meaning that it was quite literally a death sentence if you shocked yourself. For Kino de Toten, it's the Nova Crawlers. I think there have been worse versions of the Crawlers, but they originated in Kino, and holy shit, they are so annoying. They crawl around, get in your way, blind you if you kill them with anything other than explosives, and they're just not a very good contribution to the map, even if they do look quite creepy crawling down the walls. For 5, we have the Winter's Howl. It makes me really sad that Kino got an infinite damage cannon, and 5 got this shitty little pea shooter, and the fact that it returned on the remastered version of Verrucht makes me all the more sad. Seriously, this weapon could have been great, but instead it became the worst wonder weapon in Zombies history. For Ascension, we have a pretty obvious pick, that being the monkeys. I actually think that in the BO3 version, these monkeys are actually pretty good, but in the BO1 version, when the weapons are complete shit, and these things are damage sponges that resist even the Thunder Gun, yeah, you're gonna have a pretty miserable time. In co-op, they're not that bad, but in solo, these things can be the bane of your existence. The worst thing about Call of the Dead is the fog. This map looks genuinely beautiful at times, especially given that it was last gen, but at the same time, the fog had to be introduced as, you know, it was way too aspirational for its time. It's such a shame, but you know, it ruined the aesthetics every time the fog rolled in. For Shangri-La, we have the Shrieker zombies. These are the one boss zombie that I just don't like on Shangri-La, as they just don't contribute much. They run up, blind you, don't really give you much incentive for killing them. At the very least, the monkeys give you points, and the napalm zombies act like a portable fire trap when you kill them. These guys give you fuck all. The worst thing about Moon is that Speedcaller and Jug are in the exact same spot, basically meaning that if you go down and lose all your perks, you have to run around the entire map twice just to get Speedcaller and Jug back. Once to get the first perk, and then returning to Area 51 a second time to get the second perk. Very, very frustrating. There are a lot of bad things about transit, but my least favorite aspect is how bullshit the teleporters are. Not only do you have to go into the fog and get your head scratched by the denizens just to activate them, but they also are completely random and can teleport you into the fog, meaning that if you have no idea where you are, you're basically fucked. It's such a cool idea with such terrible execution. Whilst I actually like the randomized perks on Nuketown, the worst thing about this map is getting Jug on round 20 to 25, as realistically there's no OP wonder weapon on this map to help you out, no shield or anything, meaning that if this is the case for you, where Jug is the last thing you get, holy shit, are you in for a challenge. For Die Rise, I'm gonna throw you a bit of a curveball. The worst thing about this map is how empty the fucking map is. I mean, think about it. You have a map about literal skyscrapers, 2 of them I might add, yet there are like 3 entire floors that are completely useless. The floor that I'm currently on right now, you have the Sliquifier and you have perks, and that's about it. Look at the top floor with the MP5. That also has fuck all. Seriously, a lot of missed opportunity. They could have added so much more things into this map. Refueling the plane on Mob of the Dead every time you want to pack a punch is very fucking frustrating, especially in solo, as you have to run around the entire map at the very least a couple of times, basically every time you want to do it, which is beyond annoying, especially with the BO2 part system. In co-op, it's not a problem. In solo, It's fucking annoying. I actually had to think about Buried, as there's not a lot of annoying things about this map, although I will say that the high rounds are just not very fun in this map. It's either painfully easy or painfully boring, depending on your strat, whether it's camping on the roof with the fucking paralyzer, or camping at Jug with the subsurface resonator, or you can do what I'm doing right here and just camp in the spawn room. Either way, it's just not that fun. Origins is a near perfect map in my opinion, but these walls in the crazy place can go fuck themselves. They're really not that bad when you're upgrading the staff, but if you're just running between all the different locations and these things drop down and block you, they can be the most annoying thing, especially if it results in the zombies cornering you, which would obviously lead to a down that was very undeserved. From one near perfect map to another, I genuinely couldn't think of a single bad thing about Shadows. I know some people hate that you can't do the Easter egg in 4 people, but at the end of the day, you can do the boss fight in solo, so it's not big of an issue. My least favorite thing, though, is that you can't get the Servant before round 15. It just feels like a very unnecessary restriction, and I hate when they do shit like this. The Giant was also a map I had to look for nitpicks on, as there's really nothing bad about this map. Although I don't really like the randomized perks, it just doesn't work as well as it does in, like, Shinonuma or Shadows of Evil. Like, there's no indication where the perks will be, it's just, you know, have a little look. Especially if Jug is a million miles away, it's just very inconvenient. But again, I really had to nitpick for this one. Another near perfect map I really had to nitpick, although I genuinely didn't notice this until recently. Derondra has no new weapons in it, which I think is a real shame, as pretty much every DLC in the game introduces new weapons from the multiplayer, but Derondra was the only exception, which I think is a real shame. For Zetsubou, we have the Thrashers. I am not a huge fan of these guys. They take way too long to kill if you, depending on your weaponry, and they are very prominent in the Takeo boss fight, which I think is a shame, as that boss is one of my favorites, at the very least in terms of the story and, you know, developing Takeo, but it was just brought down by how many of these fucking things there are, and they're not fun to deal with. From one annoying boss enemy to another, we have the Valkyrie Drones from Gorod Krovi. These guys really aren't that difficult to take out, but the fact that they can blind you temporarily, and they're so massive they can block entire doorways, meaning that when they start spawning in with the zombies, you can easily get blocked, kind of like the Origins walls, for a cheap down that wasn't your fault. Honestly, fuck these things. Revelations, it's how easy the map is. Seriously, this map is beyond a joke. They give you some of the most powerful weapons we've ever seen in COD Zombies ever, and you can have all of them at once, which makes it just all the more brain dead. Coupled that with 9 perks, gobblegums, whatever else you can imagine, and you have one of the most notoriously easy maps in Call of Duty Zombies history. Not even the enemy spam will slow you down on this map. For Voyage of Despair, we have the map layout. I am a very big Titanic enthusiast, and I can tell you that setting a map layout with the Titanic was such a bad idea from its inception. This is literally just a maze, and it is so easy to get yourself lost. I do appreciate that teleporters do exist on this map, but at the same time, the layout is very confusing, especially for a new player. Say what you want about the enemy spam in Black Ops 4, but the Nosferatu in Dead of the Night are some of my least favorite enemies in the entire series. The fact that they can hit you and stop your health from regenerating, in addition to the werewolves and the catalyst zombies, just make this map really fucking bullshit in my opinion, and they're not fun to deal with. The worst thing about 9 is that you can't start the Easter egg before round 12. I mentioned with Shadows of Evil that I'm not a fan of maps that restrict you like this, as it really halts speedrunning opportunity, and it feels like the game is just purposefully preventing you from doing shit before the game says it's ready to let you do stuff, which I think kind of fucks up immersion to an extent. You're probably noticing a pattern here. Boss zombies can make or break the map, and the Giganese in Ancient Evil were just not very good in my opinion. They have way too much health, especially if you're not using the specialist or the shield to take them out. They're not very fun to deal with. They kind of just swing at you if you get close to them. They're not very fast. They you may as well not even bother trying to kill them with anything other than the Specialist or the Helion Salvo, and I just don't like these guys. I know that people are very vocal about Blood of the Dead. This map is not as bad as people say it is, but the least favorite thing about it, in my opinion at least, is that the new areas just weren't as good as the originals. Like, I actually don't mind Richtofen's lab and that section of the island where I'm currently training, although I do really dislike the fact that they just weren't as good as the Golden Gate Bridge or the iconic areas from Mob of the Dead. Very missed opportunity, in my opinion. Classified's Easter egg is one of the most notorious things in Call of Duty Zombies. The fact that you have to get to round 150 basically means that it is the only Easter egg in COD Zombies, period, that takes around 8 hours to actually complete, regardless of your strategy. It's just not a very fun concept. I've no idea how this made it into the game. For Alpha Omega, constantly returning the valves just to keep Pack-a-Punch accessible is not a very fun thing to do, although in fairness, this is Alpha Omega we're talking about. You don't even need to Pack-a-Punch, you just need a ballistic knife with electric burst and ethereal razor, and you are good to go. My least favorite thing about Tag to Toten is that you have to play as the Victus crew. I just think it was a very missed opportunity. I mean, think about it. This was literally the last map for Aether ever that we would receive, probably that we will ever receive. I doubt that Aether is going to continue, and you made us play as one of the most infamous crews in Call of Duty Zombies. I don't even think that they were better than the Black Ops 2 version of Victus. They were just equally as annoying, and I think it's a shame that we didn't play as Primus. Take everything I said about Call of the Dead and apply it to D-Machine. The map looks genuinely gorgeous at times, but then the fog rolls in and it makes it one of the most disgusting looking maps we've ever seen in COD Zombies. Seriously, I really like this map. Even when you're not in the Dark Aether, I just really like it. It reminds me of Christmas. But again, the fog just ruins it. It's such a shame that the Easter egg boss fight for Firebase C was way worse than the Order encounter that you experience every 10 rounds after round 30. It's such a shame because this guy is genuinely such a cool spectacle when you fight him in the game. Yet when you beat the Easter egg and you have to take him on in the spawn room, he's pathetically easy. You can kill him with just a few shots of a rocket launcher, you know, Ring of Fire with the Ray K, and you will destroy him. It's so anticlimactic, especially if you're like me and you don't give a fuck about Easter eggs, and this is the main way that you fight the Order. I don't mind Outbreak that much. I just think it would have been really cool if they brought back actual COD Zombies assets for this. Like, if they were really going to go all in with the idea of Outbreak, I wish that they had brought back assets, kind of like the Ve Victus custom map. They should have brought back just assets from COD Zombies history, like maybe the Transit Diner, the Call of the Dead Lighthouse, etc. I think that would have been really more effective than just Warzone assets. I would never consider Mauer de Toten to be a perfect map, but I also don't have many complaints about it either. But the Tormentors just don't work. They're kind of like the Shadows of Evil elementals. They're just not very fun to deal with. You can kill them so easily. It's just one of the many Hellhound reskins that just didn't work. Speaking of boss zombies, I want to make it clear, I actually like a lot of the boss enemies that Cold War introduced. The Megaton and Disciples are actually really fun to deal with. The Abomination, on the other hand, oh, fuck this thing. It's literally just a Magua ripoff. He's a pain in the ass to deal with. He's got this aimbot lightning, which is not fun to deal with. He can charge at you. He's either ridiculously difficult to kill or a piss take to kill if you have like the Chrysalax or something. I'm just not a fan of this guy, and it makes the enemy spam on Forsaken that much worse. Interestingly enough, Modern Warfare 3 zombies was the hardest thing for me to choose, as there's a lot of good and a lot of bad things about this mode, but honestly, I think that my least favorite thing is that it's just not solo related, and there's matchmaking even in solo, which I think is a shame. You know, Call of Duty's had this online only thing going on for quite a few years. I feel like this mode will eventually die out regardless of how good it is. It's not like the old zombies where you can play it like local play or whatever you like. You know, I feel like this mode will eventually die. Even though, you know, it has literally just started, there's a lot of room for improvement, but I think in the long run, this mode will be forgotten. Let's all say it together, the worst thing about Vanguard is that it's far too late for us to get a refund for the game.